precious Melanie became critically ill from terminal cancer. To be brutally honest, every day I had to fight the urge not to simply walk away, but to live our best life in my precious soulmate's fight against the darkness of her disease. As a primary caregiver, most of the people in your world, they devote their energy to supporting your loved one in their fight. But what about your fight? Who cares for the carer? Every day is a miracle. Every day is an unpaid bill. With a little help from some fellow carers, I'm starting this Every Day is a Miracle forum, specifically for carers, educators, general well-being. Please join me on Sunday, 20th of October, to listen, share, connect in a bi-monthly series of online events where I'll relate my journey as a carer. Greetings to all of you. Hello. For those of you that I'm meeting here for the first time today, I'm a high school teacher, singer, songwriter, part-time professional musician. Most of my usefulness in the world has been being part of getting people smarter and out of their misery through literature, music, red wine, song. I'm from South Africa, warts and all. It's where I live, in Uitenhage, in the dream house that Melanie and I made for ourselves with all our precious things still in it. Today I'm going to address what for me is the most obvious question of all. Why would you want to be a carer? Do you have a choice in being a carer? What motivates a professional carer besides just the money? What's going to motivate you as a carer of your loved one besides just your love of them? Before I jump into that question, I want to firstly deal with how is it to be at home with your guilt, the darker urges you have when you become a carer. How do you deal with your insane feelings, like the urges to run away, to abandon the whole mission to be a carer for that special person, or even, God forbid, quicken the dying process if it's such as that. Just like a person that's on the edge of a tall building and you have to resist the urge to jump off. How do you deal with that? Who do you talk to? My Melanie survived cervical cancer for 7 years, and in the middle of that time, well, she always had corporate clothing accounts, and at that time, many of those corporations owned other corporations through which you could also buy such things as medical supplies, dentist treatment. And she kept these accounts open as reserves in case we needed to use them to keep a certain quality of life for her. And 2 weeks after she passed, I went and bought clothing to the value of all these accounts that I needed. And I felt very shameful about it at the time, but I have absolutely no remorse about it now. There are so few flowers to pick along this road that you've got to pick the ones that there are. When Melanie was first diagnosed with cervical cancer, my first reaction after the shock of it was, in fact, now I realize, a deep sense of self-pity. And it was something I noticed was much the reaction of many friends and family, deep shock and then self-pity, as if if I'd been diagnosed with cancer, and then looking to Melanie for consolation, which is so bizarre, but it is the way things unfolded. And there was a very close friend who offered to be Melanie's closest in the course of her cancer journey. And in reflecting upon this later to me, Melanie said, but they say they're on this journey with me, but it's my damn journey, and I'd rather not even be on it. So such things as a cancer journey is such a lot of euphemistic bull. But what other way do people understand? Months leading up to Mel's first diagnosis, she had been suffering terrible bleeding, menstrual bleeding, approximately 4, maybe even 5 months. And every time she went through a spell of this, I begged her, please, we need to get you to a doctor, but she avoided and avoided. And that was a terrible mistake. When she was finally diagnosed after 4, 5 months of this, there was immediately a sliver of hope, although there's now the name of a dreadful party crasher in our lives, and particularly hers. She having to carry and deal with this monster, but it had a name, cancer. And the slight sliver of relief was the knowledge now of why there had been this trauma of the bleeding. And for me, it was the tiny silver lining was the relief that I shared with her of now knowing what it was. Being useful in a hopeless situation is what you find to be powerful. And my first realizing of my use in the situation with Melanie was the person that went with her to the hospital, the hideous state hospital, the hideous state doctors, caustic and nasty creatures, some of them, and to sit with her for hours on end from the very beginning, to discourage visits from certain friends for a while until she'd calm down from things, and then to encourage visits from other friends that were too distant and wanted to reach out. And this from the very start was empowering for me, being useful in this hopeless and dark situation. 2 years after Mel passed and I was out of the the shadow of being bereaved, I sat down and wrote a how to be a carer guide with the intention of publishing it as a book or maybe a course. And then I realized after finishing it and editing it that in fact anybody that's been through the life and the experience of looking after a critically ill loved one could have written what I wrote, or even better, probably. And it was very structured around a SAMCOT structured course, which was, 5 ways to deal and easy to prepare recipes and keeping a schedule of the medications that your loved one is on that you might have to present to a doctor in an emergency situation, which I did. And then these were hard learned lessons which I condensed into this how-to guide, which I feel is not worth more than a coffee and such. I'm putting it on Amazon and asking exactly that for it. But all of this series of episodes in this forum that I'm doing, approximately 8 I'm planning, are all based on the knowledge that I put down in that kind of guide. But as I say, anyone could probably write it having gone through it. And my experience was really not as horrendous as some people's. My Melanie was determined to live her best life, and as such I gave her the best I could for her. We got married, and so I finally have to look after a loved one that was brave, but many people are not brave. You never know until you're in that situation. I am pretty sure I would not be brave if I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And many loved ones do throw in the towel, and they welcome and invite the end, and they live that way, which I can't imagine how difficult that must be for such a carer when there's absolutely no will to live, but the carer must embrace whatever light there is. So, you know, each situation is unique. Each person is an individual, and how they deal with the party crasher, as I call it. If you were to ask me, would I do it again? Yes, for Melanie, I would do it again. Was it very difficult? It was much harder than I thought. And the truth of it is that I'm not sure I could ever do it again for anybody else, including a loved one. I have found I can't even be around people who are critically ill. I can't talk to them. And that's part of my challenge, to get over that in presenting this forum and hearing from other carers. I want to move to that level of getting over, of dealing with that monster. The urge, the reaction to burst into tears every time I meet somebody who's critically ill. So I'm circling back to the main question: why be a carer? Does one have a choice? And that is where I'd like to invite comments, questions, and discuss maybe some of the questions people have written. And the thing I have to highlight is my own subjective experience. Men are 6 times more likely to abandon their critically ill loved ones than women, according to one bit of research I found. Specialized professional care is available even in poor countries like mine. And you don't have to be a rich person to obtain that. My experience relates to being a husband caregiver. Most carers are female, because females are naturally nurturing, and social evolution has designed them to be so through being mothers. And my empathy as a carer is very much more grounded in the male experience of being one, so I can only speak to that. Good afternoon, everybody. There's a few of us here today, and I've got somebody coming in from Utenag Mental Health. Good afternoon, Tracy.
Hello.
And good afternoon, Norman. Norman, like me, was a husband caregiver, and has some very interesting perspectives, having had to be a carer in a very small community. How's it, Norman? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
And then Tracy, welcome to you again. You are were a person of great importance to me when, as part of the community that was looking after me and Mel, and assisting us occasionally with money, which is always something that you don't have enough of ever, especially when you're looking after somebody. So looking at this question, and I'm still waiting for people to come in. Is it? Do you actually have a choice, Norman? You're closer to my heart on this one. You know, your situation was very, very similar to mine. So you know what I'm trying to look at today is, you know, do you have a does a person actually have a choice? I mean, you can get professional carers. You can put your loved one into a home. You don't have to be particularly wealthy to get that right. Why would a person do that?
I mean, I can answer that for myself, but what would you say to that? And if I can always circle back to that question, you know, well, that's just one, but that's just an open-ended question. But I mean, yeah, Norman, you have something?
Yes. I had to ask myself that question at one point when it was really getting challenging, and very traumatic, because I was very much on my own with this problem. And I did have somebody who did come to me and suggested, volunteered and said that I could maybe help you with this situation. But I wrestled with it quite a while, and then the route I took was to actually get assistance and training by people that were in child care, or nurses and people that were involved in the caregiving, actually assisted me and helped me, and then I would work with them,
Yes.
preparing me for a time when I would be alone with this person,
Yeah.
this patient. So in that, I found I got a lot of strength in that, and it helped me a lot, because it was very traumatic, and at times very, there was post-traumatic stress, there was depression, there was all kinds of things I'm dealing with, all kinds of emotions I was dealing with. But this seemed to help me when I had that support, and it helped me also to understand what they were doing and what I must do, and then I was basically being educated into taking over certain roles, and that made me feel a lot better, and empowered me a lot. In other words, it was easier for me when you understand the patient's condition and understand what the patient is enduring and why the patient is doing what he's doing. It becomes easier for you to cope with it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I noticed use the word patient because at a certain point, I think your loved one becomes a patient and not a person, and that
Yes,
sounds terrible to say that, but there is I had that experience where Melanie disconnected and she wasn't herself anymore.
yes.
But
Uh,
so it's difficult.
I
Not everybody can come and visit at that point. Nobody can actually.
no,
Not everybody can deal with seeing that person.
no. No, because it's very traumatic to see those changes. You actually, that person leaves. you know,
Yeah.
and
What you
also the emotion of that person is different. There's a lot of anger that comes out that you got to learn not to take personally. The anger and the depression and the you know
yeah.
the what the person is dealing with, the frustration and all that. You have to learn to understand what's going on, that it doesn't injure you. It's very difficult. I
Yeah,
found it
that is
very, very difficult.
very very
Um,
difficult. You
yes,
you're a
yeah,
musician like myself, so you have to get used to noise thrown at you and things and that sort of
yes,
thing, and not take it too
yes,
personally. But that takes a bit of
yeah, because it does.
getting used to.
You feel like you're getting attacked, a lot, and it also you got to watch out for that feeling of helplessness. You got to be very careful that doesn't swallow you. The helplessness, and you can only do what you can do, but that's why um, I feel that when you put in a situation like that, it's very helpful if professional people that are not emotionally connected, if I can say that, can help educate you and help you channel all this through doing things that you can do. It's almost like therapy for yourself if you understand what you're dealing with.
Okay,
Does that make any sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And what I'm hearing you say with regard knowledge, you got a lot of help from homes, you got a lot of help from other people, and it was very much about knowing what to do empowered you, and that's
Yes,
very much it's
yes,
very much what I understand about being an educator at the moment. And also with regard my experience with Mel, as soon as you got to know, we put a name to something, we as soon as it was
yes,
spelt out by the best minds, these are the options, this is what it is. It was terrible, but it was at least the knowledge was at least something to deal with for a while. And
that's
obviously,
correct.
you getting
Yes, that helped me tremendously. I don't think I could have handled it if I had to move others to take over and
that's interesting because this goes back
do
to the main question.
I wouldn't be able to deal with that either. I thought for me it was easier to be hands on and to be around the person. It's like I'm involved all the time, and for me it was better than to be removed from the person or the patient.
Okay, so yeah, so what you're saying is there's your reason to be there is because
Yeah.
the trauma of worrying about her in somebody else's hands. What was your lady's name? I never met her. What is her name?
Esther. Esther.
Esther. Yes, Esther. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and uh, that speaks exactly to the answer I don't have today. I can't remember why. I can't tell you why. I
Yes.
haven't got a single reason. Um, and it's except to say it's my whole life. My whole life meaning to be that.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave you alone, Norman, for a bit, and I'm going to ask Tracy to. Tracy's currently a carer for somebody that's not an older person, and somebody that's very near and dear, and she is busy with that. But the fact is that all of us at some point have to care for somebody else, and it doesn't really relate only to being like caring for a sick person. It's teachers have to look after kids, and firemen have to rescue people, policemen have to as well. So there's a huge the whole skill of having to look after somebody is not just related to somebody that is critically ill, but maybe somebody that's aged. And I want to ask, Tracy was very close to my late wife. They were almost best friends. And my question to Tracy earlier was, aside from the difficulty of it, what do there's a miraculous aspect to somebody that is critically ill that nobody else can offer. And Tracy has a very good insight on that. I think.
I
think so. I feel so. I'm not sure, but if I'm wrong, then
no, Anton, you're not wrong. There is something unique that you gain from that person that you are caring for, be it on a level like I am caring for my mom, or be it on the level that even in a minor role support that I played in Mel's life. I gained so much from Mel, from the aspect of caring for her in that small capacity that I could, that relief of just knowing that somebody else needs me a little bit more. So yes, there's that element that brings it in for me. Caring for somebody is, you asked earlier, do you have a choice? Yes, you absolutely have a choice. You do. You either can care for them or you can't. But the can is just so overwhelming. And even when you can't, you can. And you mentioned there where we refer to them as patients. I think it is then when I can't do this anymore steps in, and
Yes.
the patient comes out, and it's easier to care for a patient that than it is to care for that person who you know and remember. I mean, I look at my mom now, and she she is struggling. She is frail. She is not the mom that I had as a child who raised me. Now the roles have switched. So how do I process that as an adult? How do I say, well, okay, you're the child now, mom, and I need to step in. I need to make those adult decisions for you now that you can't. Um, and it's easier to switch it into that role of she's my patient and I'm caring for her. So yes, there's something unique that a the person that you're caring for offers back to you, that sense of purpose, that sense of direction, and um, just courage you did not know you had, or courage you didn't think even existed. Um, and that presence of mind to be able to step outside of your own self, and that moment to step in as a carer and offer
Yes.
more.
You find somebody that was a colleague in teaching uh, came away with the revelation that she was strong. She was strong. She was much stronger than she thought she would be. Um, I don't know if that's my takeaway.
No,
I,
no,
of myself, not of her, but of me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that
no.
that's the case, because I've paid for it afterwards. Um, Men are maybe Norman is we're more wired to take care of things in the moment and then deal with it later, or maybe that's just, I don't know, that's a stereotype perhaps, but I've certainly found that. Norman, I'm going to put you back on. Um, would did
No,
you find, yeah,
no, I agree with you about the man thing.
yeah,
um, I I don't know if I'm stronger for it. I don't know. I'm probably I I don't think I would. At the moment, my mother's in frail care now. She's 93,
yes, yes,
and she had massive strokes, and we are a family of five, so we have three brothers and two sisters. So she's now in this place. It was decided by the family that this is how she's going to be cared for, and she gets visitations from everybody on a regular basis. So we all see her, but um, I because of what has happened to me, and now that it's my mother, um, I, I find it more difficult to go and see her as opposed to what I was doing with Esther, where I was with her constantly, every minute of every day, all the time. Don't sleep, don't drink, don't any. I mean, I was just, everything evolved around her. With my mother, with her, with the stroke thing, the side effect of that is manic behavior sometimes, and the aggression towards me, and that, and seeing her like that, I now find it very difficult to go and visit her even, or even go there and see her. It's so different.
yeah.
And I
I've
don't
heard
know
that.
if that's post-trauma, the previous experience, or what it is, but I'm finding it extremely difficult to see her like that. And the way she
I think
behaves towards me, when she sees me,
this
and
is the
it's like a whole different emotion that I'm dealing with. I don't know if that's got something to do with what I've had to deal with
that's
before, but I'm finding it
that's a
very
fear of
difficult now. I don't think I would be able to care for my mother the way I did with her. Yeah, I don't think I'd be
um,
able to cope with it. I don't think I'd be able. If it wasn't for the family, I don't think I would be able to do what I did for Esther with my mother. I don't think I could do it.
Okay, so you're saying it's a very,
That's how I'm
very
feeling
different.
right now. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's very, very different.
I haven't reached that experience myself, but it's quite serious distinction you've made between taking care of your mom and looking after Esther.
Yes, it's so different, and
It's
I
it's
don't
a
know
lot
why it is.
harder. It's you're in my case, what I can say is
Yeah,
that I expect, as a child, I expect care from my mom, and to have that role reversed, to have to suddenly make those decisions on behalf of my mother, um, it's hard. It's a complete mind switch, and you never really know what you're dealing with at any day, really. Um,
yeah,
and not being a
yes,
parent myself, I don't have that kind of history to go back on. Okay, so what happens when a child acts out? What happens when a child won't eat the supper that you've made tonight, but that they were quite happy to eat it last night? And having to suddenly think like the responsible adult that I always look to other people to be. It's hard, and you expect differently, with the patient being a parent. Now I don't have siblings. I'm me. So it does sometimes get hard because I can't say, well, tag, you're it. I can't take somebody else in on this and go, well,
yeah,
I need a few minutes.
yeah, yes,
Okay, I have another artist friend who sees his folks once every 2 weeks, and for the rest of the 2 weeks, he's on heavy sedatives to get over the experience of seeing them. And he's a deep empath person. In fact, he can't even see friends at all at the moment because that's what he's dealing with. I fear that I will not be able to deal with that, and not. I would have thought that being a carer of Melanie and you being a carer of Esther, one would be better equipped to deal with that. But maybe that isn't the case. I'm hoping to get some professional insights from professional carers at some point along the way here. But here's a question, Norman: would you ever be a professional carer? Lots of people don't do that.
um, that's a very good question. Well, I would be pretty well equipped to do that if I had to.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, would you choose to? I wouldn't.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. No,
no. When
I don't
when
think so. I
you
don't think.
Wouldn't it be easier though, Anton? Anton, wouldn't it be easier though, caring for somebody that you're not emotionally
Yes,
involved with? Would
yes,
that not be able to make it a lot easier, and sort of say, well, okay, I have these
really,
expertise, and you do.
yeah,
Is it not perhaps easier to say, well, okay, I'm not emotionally involved, attached to this person, but I can offer excellent care and insight. Would you not be able to make that
yeah,
separation, Anton?
uh, that's kind of what all I've got. I think I've got that to offer. But and in other words, caring for the carer is more, I think, what needs to be done, and
Sure.
what is, and that's exactly what has occurred to me. There is no care for the person that's caring, and that doesn't just extend to that. I mean, I've found that as a teacher, nobody cares about the teacher much, but the teacher's got to care for everybody else. So it's not, but it's. I think it's much more intense when you've got to look after somebody that's really ill, a loved one, and nobody really
yeah.
cares for you. So what do you do? And Norman's Norman's perspective of just dead right is to get the knowledge, get the how-to from the professionals, because the doctors won't give it to you, but the professional nurses and such will, and then you feel a whole lot more empowered because you have this knowledge and you can try it out.
But
I remember
Anton, what does care for the carer look like to you?
it looks like an ability to talk. With men, we don't normally talk to people. Most of my social support came from women.
Yeah.
Colleagues at work, people I could talk to, and I wasn't short of friends that I could talk to, but being able to avoid burnout by dealing with the trauma and talking it out. I actually found that the company of colleagues that were female at work were actually better able to give me what I needed, more so even as a psychologist, because I went to make sure I got to see one, so I didn't burn out as a carer, so that I could be able to carry on working, which is important. So I had to make sure that I didn't burn out. But getting burnout as a carer means you're going to burn out at work, which, that's a double whammy of a mess. So looking after a carer, just general, anxiety, counseling that's specific to what a carer needs, specific to tailor towards that, is for me. That's what it looks like. How when I put this forum together, I have a number of people who are very critical of everything I do. They're called parents. And the one thing I got told was, but there are plenty of bereavement groups. There are lots of cancer care groups, and they're all under the church usually, because the churches are massive social support systems and such. And that's great. And there is a specific need for not people that have over loss or bereavement, but people that are actually still alive and not dying. They're actually trying to live their best life because that's all they got. What aging people, I think, are and dealing with that is a horrible thing that we all have to kind of contemplate, because it's our parents, and like you were saying, Trace, it's a role reversal, where the person that took care of you is now somebody you have to take care of, and you've suddenly got to evolve to be that much different. You have to step into an entirely different person of yourself. But when a person is ending their life way earlier than they should be, there is they are not. Nobody is prepared for that. I'm talking about the person that's carrying that disease. They're not prepared for that. And my Melanie was not prepared. She didn't prepare for this. She went out living, raging against the darkness, like the Dylan Thomas poem. So when she was left, it was just, the lights out for me. And that is one way. But being a carer of somebody that throws in the towel and actually wants to welcome the end, okay, I know nothing about that. And I think that must be far more exhausting than anything I experienced. I don't know what Norman's experience was, but I have found out that really I was very blessed actually with somebody that wanted to live so badly.
Yeah, talking about what started the conversation about care for the caregivers. My experience with the Esther thing, which was very traumatic. I was getting support, and my needs were being met by professional people who were looking after me and my emotional state and the way I was dealing with things, and they would, in so many amazing ways, that they would give me support and check on me and see that I'm okay and assist. And so I'd always had someone to talk to. I'd always had somebody to offload on, and they would look for the signs and the signals if I was at a bad place, and then they would step in, if that makes sense. So that, so it was a beautiful, loving, and all of them were women, by the way. They were all, in that profession, they just all happened to be women. I never dealt with a man at all in any of that. And it was very, very helpful, whereas now I don't feel the same way about my mother's situation. It's like somebody else has taken over that responsibility, and I'm just outside looking in, kind of thing. I don't feel involved, or
Yes.
And it's nice to be in my situation with Esther. It was nice to be in control as much as I could. In other words, the more I did, the easier it was for me to deal with her condition and her situation and what was happening, And
Well, she was a
then
life partner.
when it all ended, I can't explain it to you. It was almost like it was bad, but it was almost like a release for me, in my situation. It's like, it's because everything had been done. It's not like I hadn't done anything, and there are certain things that are inevitable, and it was easier for me to make peace with it. If I hadn't been involved, I don't know. I'm just throwing it there. I don't know if that's how it works, but
no, that's exactly one of the darker things. One feels and one is absolutely relieved once that person has passed, and you can't talk about that because it's you're supposed to be sad, you're supposed to be bereaved, but you're whole, and you are, and you're in such conflict that you are utterly relieved that they're gone, but at the same time, you are absolutely grief struck. It took me almost 2 years to get that shadow off me, but following her being gone, there was an immediate sense of relief. I could, if I wanted to, I could. If I wanted to, I could eat. I didn't have to be in a state of hypervigilance, like I'm fighting a war or a soldier.
That's right.
There is that, but then you can't tell anybody because everybody's, they immediately think that your journey of sadness has just begun. Meanwhile, it's started. Your path to being really bereaved, sad, it happened long ago.
It's all happened already.
Well, that doesn't make it any less easier for the next months or year, whatever it takes. But your immediate reaction is relief. Talk about it, and that's why I say there's nobody for that. There's nobody and no way for a person to express this, and there really should be. That's what, in answering your question, in answering your challenge, Tracy, what should care for the carer look like? Well, it should be an ability to speak without having to get smashed at the bar that everybody believes, forget, oh, he was just drunk, You should be able to actually express yourself soberly. Well, I'm so glad actually that the Christian people ever say, oh, well, she's in a better place now, or she's out of suffering. Yeah, that's fine if you believe if you hold with afterlife and that, but even if you are believing that for sure, this is the only life we know. But once it's over, as far as we know.
Yeah.
But Anton, my question is more not just from a after fact care for the carer. I'm asking also inside the moment, as a sideline cheerleader for Mel the whole time, I was, because that's what I was. I was a cheerleader. I was no more. But
I was
cheerleader for you too. That was my role.
Yes.
Now does care for the carer come in that form as well? Does it come in the form of the you know what? I've got the next hour, Anton. If you want to, if you want to just take a minute, those are the kind of cares that I, as a carer, need, and the kind of care that I needed when I was offering it to my mother-in-law when she was very ill. I needed a step out of my own self so that I could go and shout at a wall when I needed to, and come back and put on that carer jacket.
Did you get
So
that?
again, I ask, is that the kind of care that a carer needs? I need it, you know.
Yeah. Definitely, but did you? I just want to walk it back to what you said. Yes, you were one of the inner circle of friends that was there for Mel, and Norman will affirm this too. It sounds cliched, but you truly found out who your friends are, and some melt away, and then some arrive that you never had. And it's at the same time it's very disturbing and upsetting, but also it's very amazing and rewarding. You stepped up, others stepped away. Some gave a lot materially, but they couldn't face being around personally. You were able to do both. And one has to just accept that and deal with that. My question to you, would be, what do you get out of that? And also to me, I have to be honest, what did I get out of being a carer? For Mel, well, myself. I realized I'm not as weak as I thought I was. Okay, I'm not a particularly strong person and I'm not a particularly brave person, but I realized I was stronger and braver than I thought I was. And I carry that with me now forever, thanks to her, thanks to her letting me be that. I think I know Norman feels the same, though I know that both of you right now are dealing with something else, in terms of, a different, maybe more awful role to having to look after one's parent, because they're not a soulmate, they are something else. A soulmate, and having to look at that. When you were just circling back to what you're saying about your mom, somebody to scream, a wall to scream at. I would like to think that as a musician, music was a great comfort. Yes, it was, but very much during the time, and it was a tool. But for myself, it was a tool. For Melanie, movies, huge sense of peace and preoccupation with these mediums, movies and music, and beautiful words and amazing the world of ideas, particularly atheist ideas. For Melanie, very much. I mean, she embraced that quite hard near the end and listened to Christopher Hitchens with great enthusiasm and such. But what is a care? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need right now? I would like to know, because my looking after an older parent. A wall to scream at. Is that good enough?
A wall to scream at and permission to put a parent into timeout. Nobody really gives you that permission. It's like you will sit at this table until you've eaten all your vegetables. Who do you scream at? And when they're flinging things at you, both physically and verbally, it's that sort of, okay, well, I don't get to yell back at you. I can honestly say that I do fall victim to that. I do yell back, but I've got nobody to take over, and that sucks. It sucks. I don't have a brother that I can say, you know what, if you don't behave, I'm going to send you to go and live with my brother for 2 months, and that's it. There isn't anything like that. So care for me would be saying, well, you know what, Tracy, I've got this, and I do. I have a little bit of backup support, I still have a job, you know, and I saw a question come up earlier. Can one still work and be a carer? I think in many situations, I want to say you have to work in order to
Yeah.
be a carer, because that level of separation, forget about the financial aspects of things,
Yeah.
that's something else, but that moment to be able to step outside of that role of
Gotcha.
carer, parent, doctor, everything, and just become
Yeah.
you again. I sell
Mm.
books, and to be able
Yeah.
to do that with incredible passion outside of what I provide as a carer
Yeah.
is essential for the health that goes on
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
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 Agree.
I
I agree.
wh- when I'm just processing this and I'm a bit speechless. Uh, it, you were challenging me to talk about the moment and being in the position. Norman and I are outside of it now, except for the two of you being with your parents. But
Yeah.
I'm totally out of it at the moment. I'm totally blessed at the moment of not having to take care of anybody at the moment. Um, but that's going to change in my family very soon, because parents get on, they get older, and then you have to fall into that, or not. You can, maybe they've set things up that you don't have to. When you were saying about work and your own path, I was very fortunate that the person that in Melanie was very much in support of my path. She believed in my teaching career. She believed in me continuing to further myself musically. So I didn't have somebody that was a millstone. In fact, she was remained my center, right until her last breath on that, and still now. I still honor her by keeping going with those things that she believed in before. There is a tapestry, I think, between the person that you are, your soulmate. I don't know about your parents so much. A parent, I don't mean your parents, but anybody's parents. There is a tapestry between you where that person is invested in who you are, and you are thus invested in seeing them to be as comfortable, as happy, and as fulfilled as possible. And I think maybe that for me was what being a carer was, not seeing it as a patient, or not. I couldn't do that. I honestly couldn't see that person as a patient. It was still very much a person to me right until the end. Gerard, the nurse, showed me how to pick her up without hurting myself or her arms and such things, and that was great help. But Gerard himself couldn't be around. He couldn't deal with his friend being a patient. For me, it wasn't like that. That person remained that same person for me in my but in my mind and in my heart, they remained who they were, despite how they behaved and despite how she looked. So yeah, but again, I'm not dealing with that right now. So I'm outside of it. No, a question. The essential question that I was just was a question of choice. Um,
Yeah.
and as an older person, I think I don't know if I don't know if I could face being a carer for my parents. I would try. I would be damn well. I would but I also know what one goes. That's a very different situation.
Yeah.
Very different
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know nothing about that. I know nothing about that yet.
The relationship changes completely.
Yes.
Completely. And every now and again, you have a small glimmer of, in my situation, that mother daughter situation. Every now and again, it comes back. And you kind of hold on to that, and you paint it pretty, and you put it in your memory chest, and later you can take it out and play with that again and go, well, yeah, that was amazing. I had that. but every time she coughs, every time she stands up and she moves differently, I don't look at her as my mom. I look at her as somebody that
Yeah.
I'm caring for. I listen out
Yes.
for her breathing. It's changed. Okay, so
I can relate to that.
I'm not listening as a daughter. I'm most assuredly not listening as a daughter.
No,
Um, um,
that's what I
yeah,
was trying to right in the beginning of our little chat here. That's what I was trying to convey exactly what you said now about my situation with Esther when she was really bad. She was at a place where she couldn't walk, she couldn't speak, she couldn't see. It gets to a point where you have to, where you see patient and not, you know, it just, it's a difficult one to explain. I mean, she's always the same person to me, but you have to start for your own sanity. You have to start thinking patient and focusing on the physical things that you have to do, and and how to deal with what's happening to that person. You don't.
yes, yeah, no, I totally
She's
agree.
still the same person to you, but
Mm.
it's almost like you understand what I mean? It's like
I totally, I totally
you think
understand. I
patient,
totally
not
understand.
person.
Yeah.
It's almost
Well,
like
I'm not.
self-preservation as well. It
I,
helps focus and help. It's very difficult.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I think
Can
what
you hear
you've
me?
hit on. I can hear you fine. I think what you've hit on there is perhaps that point where professional people are at, and why I won't ever be a professional carer. And yes, I totally agree with you. You have to actually develop that type of barrier, that type of line to be able to keep yourself in a
Oh,
focused way
there's
to do
another
what you need
call
to.
coming in.
Um,
Yeah.
is that you, Norman? All right. I really
Yeah, I'm just
understand.
I'm breaking up. Sorry, I'm breaking.
Okay, I've lost Norman, but I'm seeing that in my chat comments there is Natalie is running Utenag Mental Health, and unfortunately I can't. But she's actually a professional carer of people that are uh, kind of without families and suffering from extreme things like schizophrenia, and she's running homes for that, and they're not very well funded. But she's managed to go from school into being a carer, and I would like to get some insights from her. And then there's my friend Alison, who has recently lost her mom, who she was very, very close to, and is has some insights on that because she had to look after her dear mother quite near the end, and deal with that, and she's still in a state of trauma over that. I see Phil Fabry is also looking at this. Phil is a serious. Um, she was the one that posted the question: is it possible to keep working as a carer? Yeah, and that is like is, as Tracy said, it's crucial. For me, it was absolutely crucial. Except that it gets to a point where you actually cannot work properly. You're too traumatized. There's too much going on at home. If the person at home falls, hi, welcome back, Norman. Are you there? If the person falls, breaks their wrist, there has to be somebody on hand. I was fortunate in my case; I was able to hire someone to assist me, and it happened in the middle of lockdown, so I didn't have to be at work in anyway. So I was fortunate in that respect. But I don't know if it is possible to be a full-time carer when somebody is in their final stages. I never had to contemplate that. I prepared for it by having somebody else come in and be there during the day. It wasn't really a carer; they were actually a domestic worker that was prepared to deal with somebody that was really ill. And that was an interesting learning experience for me in how to get the assistance you needed. It's just, Tracy was one of the people that came in to wash dishes or bring a meal. You were one of those people, and that is concrete assistance. It's not just, oh, how are you? Can I come and visit? It was coming in and like helping you with a little bit, and that if you can get a domestic that can come and carry some of the household work, that's a load off you to do to carry on with your care, your caring of that person. And I was very fortunate to have that. I don't know, Norman. Did you actually, were you able to get help, physical help in that way to just help you take care of things like,
Yes, I did. I think it's imperative. You can't. I wouldn't want to be in Tracy's situation all on my own like that. I don't think that is. You got to have support. They have to have support. Even the smallest things become big things. You need a lot of support. It's impossible. You can't take that emotionally and physically. It's just too much. It's too much. I'm very grateful for those that did help. A lot of them. There was a lot of people that disappeared in my life because of that. But I'm very grateful for the assistance that I had and the support that I did get. And it is absolutely imperative. You cannot deal with it on your own. Impossible.
Did you?
And you have to have life outside of that, which I'd like to just back up what was being discussed here. At that time, I was also musically very busy. So
musically, that's one of the things.
Huge. Yeah, that helped a lot. So you got to have something to talk with, and you have to have somebody that's taking. I was playing with Ian Roberts at the time.
Ian Roberts and Jock de Koning and at the heart of the BBG
that's right.
venue.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah. So that
I think we might have done. I think we might have done that gig together with your plastic drums.
We did,
just after or just before.
That time, I think it was just before.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it was just before, I think.
Yeah.
But it's all there was also I had a lot of emotional support, from Ian Robertson. Specifically, I'm just bringing that name up now, but it's always nice to have that
Radio Kalahari.
Yeah, well, he was there through thick and thin with me, through all the bad times, the good times, everything. He was always there, just emotionally, and a good friend, just someone that you could just be transparent with. Because
that's amazing.
I think that's very important. What you've just said there is so important, Anton?
Yes, I've got that. It's also notable because Ian Roberts is a kind of man's man, and male companionship is not always. How can I say? Your friends remain your friends as men, but they don't always. They're not always in a position to listen to you. They really aren't. They want to help fix things because they don't want to listen to you. So they'll help you do anything, but they won't necessarily listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, listening to what you say is what was important to me. With Roberts, he didn't get involved in anything. He was just there for me all the time. I could express myself as I want, be as transparent as I want, and he would deal with it. He was with me. And he was moral support. We cannot explain how important that was to me. He was just so supportive all the time. He was always there, 24/7 for me. That helps a lot.
That is so important because one gets you get what. You need that, and you don't have a lot of that. Men are fixers. So if you phone a friend up, they say, "Well, what do you need? Help?" They will help you with anything. anything, fix a car, take you to the hospital, anything in emergency, anything that you physically need, anything material. If you need money, you can get it, and that's essential. But that's not actually. That's not, and I got all that. But the one thing I only had 2 male friends that I could talk to. One's actually running the tech here today, and the other one is across the Atlantic. So except for those 2, my other friends were there for me in a material, supportive way. But to talk to, it's or even just go have a drink with when you need to is very difficult.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that.
I'm
very glad
for that.
I want to
Tracy definitely needs it. I know. I don't know Tracy.
Yeah, I'm good.
That we really do need that. We need that someone that's just there for that moral support, and some kind. You can't do this on your own. That's the way I feel about it. I don't think I could have done it without these individuals that were just there when I needed them. It's I think it's very important. If there's just somebody you can go and have a cup of coffee with and chat to.
When you need to, not when you need to, not when they need to.
Not when they are available, yeah. When I need to, yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what you need.
I'm reflecting on some of the comments that I've got, and I think I've kind of addressed what comments. We've had a kind of a small circle today, and I'm very happy that we've had a circle. There was a lot of interest in the reel I put out, but it is Sunday, and I think and there are a lot of friends that are some of my friends from work that have joined, but actually don't really want to come on because they're still dealing with either being in a traumatic situation or they've just come out of it. So they've asked not to actually join, and I know they've been listening, but they haven't really anything to say.
But Anton, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Now, you spoke earlier about a kind of a manual that you put together, a carer's manual.
Yes.
We know because, hey, we've been through that. We've ticked boxes. We've made our lists. We've got our Venn charts and all the rest of it. But the person who's just stepping into this, who's terrified, who doesn't know, I should be using wooden cutlery for a person who's just had chemotherapy instead of metal cutlery because it changes the taste of the food in the mouth. Or I shouldn't be offering them their favorite food because it's never, ever, ever going to taste right ever again. These are the things that I think a first-time carer needs to know. And the fact that you've put it down into a handy guide for somebody like me who gobbles up any literature at all, I'd be keen to be able to have access to that.
I've put it. I'm in the process of putting it up. I'm in the process of putting it up at where it can be easily reached for the price of a cup of coffee. Because what you say to me just then about silver cutlery and favorite food is a different insight that wasn't actually part of my experience. It was never silver cutlery wasn't an issue. Melanie was made out of steel anyway, so anything that was metal,
Valid
was
point.
happy. Anything was literally the cisplatin chemotherapy is metal, so she became an Iron Maiden. She was happy with it. So the cutlery aspect of it wasn't a problem. And favorite foods, well, her tastes changed, but then once she identified what the favorite foods were, that's all I gave her, because she needed to eat. So there was but there are other things, like you say, that I thought were, kind of generic to everybody's experience. Low residue foods. That was a thing that I had to learn how to do. Quickly. It's stuff that's not going to rip your, hurt your insides, and you have to pick the food carefully for that. So I had some recipes in that. I had a schedule of how to write up the medications that you're on, the number of a day, because there's maybe 60 things sometimes that a person has to take every day or occasionally, and it needs to be written down, because you're never going to remember them, and you might have to tell any strange doctor in a casualty situation, okay, this is what she's on, and you give her the list, and because you're not going to remember in an emergency situation. So those are the kind of things that I put together, as well as I try to package the psychological care of, the benefits of, how exercise and how you might organize exercise for somebody that's critically ill in a manageable way, and that. And
that's great.
I felt a bit, it wasn't written by it wasn't expert. I wrote it with the most passion and the most brains I could, but I can't.
But you are an expert now.
Yeah, everyone's an expert once they've been through it, you see. So I kind of want to give it away, but so I'm giving it away for the price of a cup of coffee. So I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to put it up there either on Amazon or just as a PDF somewhere, and I'm going to give the details through your to get it out. I have it in front of a few journalist friends, but I want to give it away just to cover costs on that. So yes. Norman, you were about to say something?
No, I'm listening intently.
I see my friend Gino is saying thank you.
I basically
two drummers in
what
the
I wanted to say. No, I think with these situations these challenges that we find ourselves in, with, like, when it comes to having somebody that's terminally ill, or there's a tragic event or something, and you have to deal with that. I think education is going to be extremely important to get people with qualified support and emotional support, both. So you have to have the qualified support, people that are divorced emotionally from your situation, that can give you hardcore advice, and then you need somebody close and emotional support. You can't do this caregiving on your own. It's not possible. I don't think I could deal with that again on my own. I could never do it. I could never go through this again. It's just
that's how I feel.
Traumatic. Yeah, I could never. That's just me. I don't think I could go through what I went through with Esther again. Never.
But you would.
But you
would you? Can I just hang on? I just want to ask you something. Would you do it for Esther again? With Esther again, though. Yes, that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I would. Yes, I would. Absolutely, definitely.
I met a man that's at a show. Dave Goldblum was playing at the old cash store, and a man came to me and said, "I believe your wife is ill." And then he said, "Listen, my wife survived cancer for 10 years, and I looked after her, and I must just tell you, it was the best 10 years of my life." And it was just such an amazing thing to hear. It was a perfect stranger that walked up to me, that went out of his way to say this to me, in a sort of group of one of those intimate musician show evenings where everybody kind of sort of knows everybody. But I didn't know him, and he came up to me and said this, and I didn't know what that meant. I can't say that looking after somebody is the best years of your life, but you wouldn't give them up.
Exactly what Now I understand exactly what he's saying. I never thought about it until you said that to me, but now I do understand what he's saying fully.
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
it's I know what he's saying. It's difficult for me
It
to
was just
express myself now, but
it's just so
I know
amazing for
exactly.
me. It's just so amazing for me that in the course of being a carer, it's opened a window on a world to me that is the rest of my life, and that it looks so bright.
Yeah,
And not that it was dark during that time. In fact, I've had a tougher time since she's gone than when I was her carer. But it was just when that person came up to me and said, it was the best. I just thought, wow. I
yeah,
felt like
yeah,
I felt like in a not a stupid romantic way, but that I was going on a great adventure, a real
uh,
quest,
yeah,
and
yeah,
somebody had been there and back and survived and was coming over to say, "You're going to be good." That was one of those few sort of late night um, stars that came out that you don't forget. Those little
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
shining things, and I think I really believe that that's possible in dealing with somebody that's ill. I kind of always thought that with Mel, when somebody's dying that's not supposed to be dying, embracing the part of them that's burning out bright because they're going to burn out soon was how I tried to embrace it. In other words, this person's going to get burned brighter now for the
yeah,
time they got, and you
yeah,
must enjoy that light. And I got that right. I just wish,
yeah,
I just hope, and that's to answer your question, Tracy. That's what I think carers need. They need to know. They need to know that there is uh, that there is light there. They're just not seeing it
Yeah.
or feeling it, but it's there, and it's amazing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Look for the little things, yeah.
um, yeah, even if it's just a pair of tracksuit pants on Melanie's Edgar's account that insurance has to carry after she's gone. She would have been so proud of me for doing that. So proud of me for doing that.
She would have actually, yeah.
So proud of me for doing that. I felt so embarrassed. It's not like me to do that, but I thought, like, damn it, I'm sorry I didn't buy more stuff. Anyway, I'm seeing thank you here from Gino for candidness. That's not a word I'm familiar Gino saying, but he's saying thanks for the candid talk. Candid talk. Yes, candid. It's never been described as candid. Some people have used the C word in another context with regard to me. Candid is not. um, 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 there's Philippa saying again that she can really relate to Tracy being the parent to a parent, and acknowledging that for her work and escape. Philippa, I know, is a workaholic. She runs a school and she runs more school and runs, carer, well-being programs of her own. So she's very passionate about that. But I think we're going to have to start kind of winding down. I'm just really hoping to
Yeah.
have perhaps a professional person like on the other side of Norman, where you're saying that compartmentalizes it and keeps going. Like is able to actually do it both for care, both for love and money. Not just for money and not just for love, because I don't think you
Yeah.
can do it just for love, and I certainly don't think you can do it just for money. And I'd like to hear from a professional person to see if what do they have to say? How do they keep it together? I have somebody that is going to do that, and I'm hoping I'm hoping to be able to have a larger group of people when we speak again. Thank you so much. I don't know what I think. I don't know if we can really cover anything more today. Norman, Tracy.
No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm hungry.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, no,
Now,
no, this
I'm good.
this is good for me.
Yeah.
No, this was
I
good for
really
me. I'm
Um,
glad we had this chat.
thank you so much, Norman. Your insights are.
Yeah.
Men don't normally share these things or want to, but it's amazing. Wooden cutlery, Tracy. Wooden cutlery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, a colleague of mine recently asked me about a go bag because she's going to be accompanying her loved one to chemo for the first time. And I used to pack a go bag for Mel every time. And
I
we'd
remember
go
those.
hurtling along the N2, and I'd scream into the parking lot, and I'd say, go, 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 I've got the go bag, you know. And I was asked recently what I would put into those go bags. And they changed all of the time because Melanie loved change. Melanie needed change. But it was quite something to sit back and remember the key ingredients for that go bag. And
What were they?
it's information I wish I'd had the very first time, you know. But I have it now, and I was able to pass that on with a list of alternatives for the next time, because it can't be the same every time.
What was in the bag, Tracy? I need to know.
There were some things that you may know about, and then there are some things you may not know about, because it was us girl things.
Oh, dear me.
But mouthwash was a big one.
Oh, mouthwash. This
Yeah,
doesn't
and
sound
playing
interesting.
cards. I kept wanting to play a game of strip poker with Melanie, but she was a better poker player than I, so I was never brave enough.
Jeepers creepers. Okay.
Like I said, you don't really want to know everything in there.
No. Indeed. Yeah. No,
But I had
yeah.
to make her laugh, Anton, and I did that every time.
Yeah. That's so important. Making, yeah, geez, what laughter can do. Wow. One of those laughter music. And when you can't drink red wine and you can't smoke anymore, and the only thing you got left is laughter, and it hurts. I remember she used to say, you know, I'm so sore now from laughing. And I said, well, it should be exhausted for days after those visits, but it was good exhaustion. Yeah,
Okay.
but
But Anton, thank you for this. I think this medium is going to be good. And
can you suggest? Can you guys suggest? I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give a breakdown of today, and I'm gonna actually put a few topics up and like I say, I'm gonna look through the how-to thing I did and use that as a guide for next time. So I think that my strategy is going to be addressing a particular question each time, and the question I've sort of asked to try and look at from my own point of view is like, why? I can't remember why. So I'm asking other people what if they can, and if they can put it into words. And thank you so much, Norman, for doing that, and Tracy helping me thread it together, because we're all moving towards some kind of caring, some sort of being that sort of person for somebody. So thank you for that, and thank you so much for Gary and my friends that made comments. I shall take them to heart, and then I wonder, shall we say cheers? I hope Gary's there still. I hope he hasn't fallen asleep. And,
yeah, I think so. This has been good, Anton. Thank you.
oh, the song that we chose was actually something that you, and the whole theme here was the theme of the David Byrne song, which was "Every Day's a Miracle," because it's got that was a bracelet that you gave Melanie, Tracy, which she wore until He passed, and I actually passed that bracelet on to another lady that wore it for another 2 years after Mel went. And this is what it was after that song, that David Byrne song, which has got all kinds of interesting things in it, cockroaches and donkeys and things. So this is that. Yeah, Norman knows the song. Anyway, thanks very much, Carl.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
The rose is pruned to a perfect shape, perfect for whom I wonder. The chicken thinks in mysterious ways, but beauty is not what we're after. Now the chicken imagines a heaven full of roosters and plenty of corn, and God is a very old rooster, and eggs are like Jesus, his son. The Pope don't mean shit to a dog, and elephants don't read newspapers, and the kiss of a chicken is hard. The brain of a chicken and the dick of a donkey, a pig in a blanket. That's why you want me. What does it feel like to be your tongue, moving around in your mouth, to be a flea in the forest of your love, a cockroach in the cosmos of your house. Every day is a miracle. Every day is an unpaid bill. You've got to sing for your supper. Love one another. I'm a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. I thought of the birds and the bees. My software is famous all over. My money is growing on trees. The mind is a soft-boiled potato, a jewel in a chocolate shell.